Hello, lovelies, and welcome to the Goddess Evolution online retreat. I'm your host, Shantana Telise, and I'm here today with a very special guest. And together we will be revealing the secrets on how to channel the divine to heal your past lives and timelines. Althea, would you please introduce yourself and tell us what exactly it is that you do?
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Really wonderful to be here. Very grateful. I generally just assist people into become a better version of themselves. I will help with timeline clearing. I will do light language. I'll help with releasing attachments, activating their gifts, teaching people how to channel, and really stepping into their divine power to find their unique expression of self in order for them to step into their soul mission. So I like to work organically with each different individual because no person is the same and no person's journey is the same. Although there are kind of like some almost like textbook lessons that most people need to learn and go through before they get into a space where they're operating from, unconditional love and from their heart center. So I just generally, help people all around, be better human beings.
Wow. What got you into doing this work?
So, I come from a long lineage of witches. My mom has psychic vision and intuition. My grandmother had as well. They're not psychics for a living, but it's been in my family down the woman, although everyone has psychic gifts, so everyone can develop. It's like a muscle, like a sport. The more you practice, the better you get at it. So I was always one of those kids who would see the shadows or have like prophetic dreaming, or like I got my first tarot deck at 12. So it was kind of something that was always in my peripheral and, in my experience, so much so that for some years I wanted to become a doctor because I wanted to go, Westernized society told me that that was how you could assist in healing. And so that was, what I wanted to go. And so it's kind of like always been part of my life.
Wow. So I'm curious because you were so intuitive so young, like because it's always been, was it weird growing up that way? Like I grew up in a really Mormon town. So it was like, you don't talk about it. So what was that like for you?
So, I grew up in Italy, in Milano. My family was like Christian Catholic, but it wasn't like a thing we would go to church maybe on like Christmas. I did do like the communion and all that stuff when I was, I don't know, maybe like 10 or something like that. But I was one of those kids that was like, seeing shadows and I couldn't sleep. And I would tell my parents, that I was there was stuff going on in my room, and they didn't really believe me much until I then became a psychic for a living when I got older. And I was like, guys, this is what was going on. They were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. Like, we had no idea that was. And I was like, yeah, because I was like a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid. So you just, you weren't really listening or you didn't believe me. So it was never like shunned upon. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, like, she has dreams and then they come true. Great, sort of thing. So it wasn't like really supported. Like now my family is very supportive because of what I do, but they weren't like supportive, but they also weren't like, oh, like you're weird sort of thing. They was just like, oh, okay, like there's a lot that we don't know, maybe she knows something that we don't, sort of thing.
Well, that's not so bad. That's really good that minus the shadow part. Did you ever have spirit guides that would come to you as well? Or like I was with dead people all the time. Like, did you ever have spirit guides?
Yeah, so with me, the way my system operates and work is I did go through a phase where I was assisting people moving on, and I still do it to this day, like very seldom. I generally work with beings who have anchored into the angelic realms. So the way that I see and understand, sorry, just 1 second. There. The way that I see and understand is, yes, I work with a lot of different beings, and most of them are higher versions of myself. So it's me from parallel and different timelines or timelines that are more evolved. And the way that I understand it is when you're operating from a third dimensional density template within the here and the now to access a fifth dimensional density template, which would be your higher vibrational frequency beings, you need to operate in between the 4D, which would be your astral space, which is where your kind of like souls are that haven't really moved on or that need help and need assistance. So before you start working Up here with galactic beings or beings that are operating from a 5D template, you need to kind of navigate through the 4D. So in my understanding, most of the energy workers who are operating with high vibrational frequency beings at one point or another did navigate, the 4D realm. So it's not really something that I do help people cross over just because I'm operating from that 5D template. So I would have to actually lower my frequency to tune into that. But sometimes it does happen. Sometimes on one-on-ones, they're like, my father passed on recently, can you contact him? So I can do it, but it's not kind of like my main thing that I do.
Nice. So working in those angelic realms and the way that even like the timelines come up for you, do you find past lives come up, or how do you incorporate that into your work?
Yeah, so I mean, when my clients come to me, I offer different types of sessions. So, a full system upgrade and Akashic clearing would be me going into their parallel past, previous, and future timelines and just seeing, I'll go in, I'll see the program or the template that is hindering them within this experience. So let's say they had a lifetime in medieval times where, I don't know, they were meant to keep a secret and they told everyone, and then their punishment was their throat being cut, or they got hung. Now they might have a blockage in the throat. So I'll go in, I'll clear that timeline, I'll make them aware of it so they could do their work as well, because I can only do so much. Obviously, the individual soul needs to do the work themselves. So that would be kind of like quite a practical example, you know what I mean? Sometimes people have been in unions where the partner was abusive, and in this lifetime now they struggle with self-worth. So I will go in and assist in clearing that as well. So it can all kind of like be related and connected. I will go in sometimes and check courting with family members, lovers, or people like that, so that, let's say, you don't get along with your mother in this lifetime at all, and perhaps in a previous lifetime you guys were, I don't know, generals fighting each other in opposite sides of some American Civil War. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like how I work with the timelines. And then once the timeline is being neutralized, there'll be soul fragment retrieval, which means that you retrieve the fragment of soul that sometimes was released in that timeline and experience. And then you start opening up and activating more gifts and more of yourself, and then recollecting more things and whatnot. So by me going into their system and getting the information, I open the door, and then I always say to them, like, listen to what I've said to you, like rehear the information, and then see what comes through for you as well.
Wow, that's really powerful. I love that. So do you have specific beings that help you in this work? Or how does it work for you?
Yeah, so I've got a team of about 300 beings that I work with just from my side. Yeah, I don't obviously work with all of them at the same time. I've got a Mantis being, which is a 12-dimensional Mantis version of me that helps me a lot with light language digital codes. I've got a 9th-dimensional Pleiadian version of me that I work with a lot as well. And then I'll generally also work with the clients' beings. So let's say someone comes to me, they operating, they had lifetimes in Vega, in Lyra. So there's a lot of Lyran family beings that they have working with them. So then I'll work with them. So it really depends on who I have in front of me and what I need to kind of like do. But I generally, I work with both teams every time I'm working on a client.
Wow. Okay, I'm curious. I've heard so many people with the mantis beings lately. How did they come to you?
Oh, so I mean, I started working with Mantis beings back in 2017 when they were like, I don't even know if there were people online talking about Mantis beings. And I literally saw like, I mean, this Mantis being came to my, like, I was like, oh, okay, like there's not really any other way I can kind of like describe this or hide from it. Like it's okay. And then it's more like the one that I worked isn't really like masculine or feminine, but the energy I would say tends more to be masculine. So I call him he, but they don't really have, they're quite neutral, most of them anyway. And with him, he just assists me in my digital coding. So whenever I pull down digital coding that then I release, within the technology, or or I channel them for a specific person. I will work with Mantis technology and a lot with Atlantean technology. So my higher dimensional version of myself that is a Mantis being also is part of me that also worked with an ancient Atlantis with the technology there as well. So he first started coming through to me in meditation. And then, yeah, I mean, because I've done a lot of soul fragment retrieval within my own experience, these beings are very integrated in my system. So it's not like I need to stop and call it and it comes through. It's just here. So whenever I need, it'll just, that frequency or energy will just stream through me.
Oh, so what psychic abilities do you have that are the most powerful? Like, I guess the
So
most.
I generally, yeah, that's a good question. I generally just work with claircognizance at this point, which is just the knowing itself. But when I first started, I had very pronounced clairvoyance. So I'm very visual. I would see a lot. I would also feel quite a bit. I've worked with all the senses. Like I've had clairalience, clairgustance, like when there's like the taste or the smell. I have clairaudience as well. But I generally just work with claircognizance because it's just easy. It's just, oh, okay. It's like a knowing, the information just drops right in. When I'm working with clients, I will get a lot of visual stuff. So we'll generally use more the clairvoyance in my third eye. Yeah, it really depends. Some beings just tend to come through a lot with clairaudience. Sometimes it's like feelings and emotions, but generally I would say claircognizance, yeah.
Wow. I love that. Usually it's very much the clairvoyance or the clairaudience. So I love that. What I guess I'm curious about the light language. So I've seen on your website that you do light language, like you're a phenomenal at it. What got you first started into that? Like how did that come for you?
So I've had quite a few different intense experiences. So my system needed to be prepped in order for me to be able to hold container and, put out codes when there was a pandemic. So I went through very intense experiences the 2 years before that. I felt like I lived about 100 years in the space of like 2 years. I then had an activation with about 8 light language channelers all work on me at the same time. So my system was blown open there. Within that year, I worked with plant medicine as well with psilocybin. That also really opened me up. I don't work with plant medicine anymore. I'd work a little bit with happy here and there, but that was just that 1 or 2 times within that year. And that really opened me up a lot. And then I just kind of like started calling it in and asking for it, and it started coming through and more and more and more. I mean, I was posting videos of light language back in 2017 on my YouTube channel, and I don't that maybe there were like 100 channelers online who did light language at the time. Now there's like tens of thousands. It's grown really exponentially. So for me, it started all together. It started with the writing first. After a few months, my throat activated. The movements were kind of like always there as well because of the geometry that I was kind of like creating with my hands. I was Reiki tuned too, so I was already a Reiki practitioner for maybe 6 to 7 years before that. So I had already kind of like, I had domesticated my system and I knew how my system worked. I knew how to feel energy. And it wasn't my full-time job at the time. It was like a side job that I had, but I was already kind of like in the process of doing that. Yeah.
That'd be like a lot of energy to have so many people working on you with light language.
Yeah, it was very intense. It was very intense. Yeah, it was really intense. And it took like months for that to settle in. I had just a lot of activations within a short amount of time. And they said to me, it's because I then obviously found out years after it was like, no, because you needed to hold space and grid and be able to do this work when the pandemic was happening. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So do you automatic write more than just light language?
Yeah, I mean, I can automatic write messages and stuff like that. I don't really do that much automatic writing because it's just quicker for me to just channel, verbally and vocally. But whenever I'm doing a session for a client and I'm tuning in, I'm channeling, so it is automatic writing. With me, my channel is very integrated. So it's not like I need to tune in and ask and get information and wait and whatnot. I just kind of like do it because I do it all day, every day for people, so it's gotten to a point where it's like, well, okay, sort of thing. So in my own spare time, I don't sit and automatic write. I'll watch a series or do something completely spiritually unrelated.
I love that. You do need your breaks.
Exactly, yeah.
Can you trans channel then?
I don't trans channel. I will light language and I'll open, I will talk. I'll have channel come through to me. I don't trans channel. The reason being is because I'm very integrated in my channel. I'm here. Trans channelers, they leave and they forget. That's not how I operate. Like I could if I wanted to. It's just not how I choose to operate because I'm sovereign being within my body and I want to be present and know what's going on and who's coming through and what's speaking. So I will trans channel, like the message will come through as if I'm speaking from a being, but I'll still be very present and embodied and conscious and aware while that is happening, if it makes sense.
Oh, that does make sense. I love that. So can you share with the audience I guess, how can they work with you? And then on your website, like you have a bunch of light language. Can you share with them all about that?
Yeah, sure, of course. I offer a lot of different services. Right now, I have a workshop that's coming up on the 9th of September, which is called Manifestation Magic. So it's for you guys to anchor into a 5D template and really start operating from that space of unconditional love and co-creating your own reality. So I work a lot on helping people empower themselves. I do 6-week and 6-month training programs where I train people to do what I do, but within their own soul mission and understanding. So whatever it is, whatever gifts they need to open and expand and give to the collective, I will assist them to tap into that and teach the channeling and all those aspects. I've got a Costa Rica retreat coming up in November. I've got a few spaces left for that. It's 6 days, 5 nights. There's going to be a lot of light language, a lot of activations. We're going to be working with the 4 elements. We're going to be working with dragons. We're going to be working with fairies and all the different elementals. It's going to be very, very, very powerful. So I've got that's coming up. And then, yeah, all my one-on-one sessions that are on my website. A lot of light language that I post on my Instagram and my YouTube channel. I'm sure you're going to leave all my links so people can just go through that. If they want to contact me through my website, will be probably the easiest, or like through email as well. I do generally have about a 6-week waiting time for first-time clients.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Would you end us off with a healing or a message, whatever you feel drawn to do?
Yeah, I'll do a transmission. So you can just close your eyes and anchor into your body. As you find your comfortable breathing rhythm, with every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you start to relax the body, the system, the energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Soundophone to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves as spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Opening, 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 opening. Opening, opening systems, opening, 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 opening. Raya shetu kukura tria setu kuka teishina yatara tria sira takra. Krana rea trio kuku area tria shira yatare. Taishe sayatara ishina yatakra. Tria trio clear, releasing, 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 opening, releasing, opening, releasing. Opening, 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 releasing, 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 letting go, letting go. Letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. Rashiro kukuro ishinaya takratria tre kuro ishira calling in divine rays. Anchoring, 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 anchoring more light, attuning systems, attuning, opening, expanding into divine rays, attuning, activating dormant DNA, opening to more light, anchoring rainbow rays, aurora rays, attuning, anchoring, more light, Trasceto cuore asietaka creatre umrase sorokoro ishiratra triatre koro tre nayana re rai opening clean releasing letting go attuning expanding into more light divine rays Naisha Sierra Tokoro Isha. This is going to be felt in the system. within the sacral solar plexus, a little bit the throat. Yeshokoro atkria siero kokora yanara trea shira yatra. Traya trea kiero kora krikna yatria sie koka trea kiera tre okura yatari. Trena yera oh na hai shisara yatra. Trea trea kaka kro kro akre. Trea shira tara treo sorokora itia. Tianara tri. Takirokoa, tieshirayata, expanding, 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 attuning systems, attuning thing, releasing, grounding, balancing. This is going to help with the nervous system, attuning, balancing. Raya, atrasieto qua ishiata criatre asieto raya tra. Traina reatia ishie karashe korokot karaisia. Trana reatrik crea seco atea ishena ya tre ta ishera ya sara. Reatre kuru isiatera kiat kukoa ishera ya tra, expanding. Expanding. It's just time to let go, clear, release, ground balance, align. Yeshuro kurutru shirayatara tria sira tukuru ishira sirayatara. Traina yatria kiero kwa ya ishera yatra. Traya ishie tata siero kuru atria sira tra tria trio kuru finding divine balance within the masculine and feminine side. Siero kwa ishera yata yase ayanatara. Tara kriase ukuare aishia tarease ruatrea kiera tara traya trea kiet korra siase nuara trea che kora isia tria taria tre akiero kurea trea siera tara niat kurroa trea sietaka ntaya shie tara trea sie uraya tra uro ishira yatra ntara ishira grounding anchoring closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, closing, sealing, closing, sealing, closing, attuning, anchoring, feeling peripheral, clear, releasing, cranial structure, releasing, anchoring, grounding, anchoring, grounding, yep, naha, ishayatara. Rokoa ishenataka. Teatrio kukurra tria sia se okoa ishenayataria sia tria kiero koko kra yatria niate kumna ishia naishia tara. Uro ishira kara ishuk raishetara trik. As you gently ground back into the body, come back to the physical vessel, anchoring back into the now, the present moment. Maybe moving your fingers, your toes. Whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. You can either choose to stay in process. Just know that you'll be clearing and releasing for a few days. It can take up to 3 weeks for full integration of everything in the system. You might feel like you need to eat more, sleep more, rest more. You might feel like you're getting triggered more easily. You might have old things resurface. Just surrender and allow, for the codes will go where they are best needed for you at this moment in time.